And we're back. Here we go again, live with the ladies from VA for VO. Well, two out of the three. Is Miranda on a bus in Scotland, or no, a train in Scotland? What was last time?
Last time she was on a train in
Train
Scotland.
in Scotland.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
we will miss her,
No,
but we
she's
will.
not. She is manning the fort and doing all the things that matter behind the scenes right now.
All
So,
of the important
it's-
stuff behind the scenes. Cool. All right. So we
yes.
did a webinar. VA for VO did a webinar here last month where we were talking to voice actors specifically who may need some extra help in their business, looking to hire a virtual assistant. Now we want to talk to if you are a voice actor who has skills that you can offer to these voice actors who are looking to hire a virtual assistant. There's a lot of things that we have to do as VOpreneurs to run our business, email marketing, social media, CRM, all these different kinds of things. And if those are things that you do and you do well, there may be voice actors out there who are interested in hiring you to offer those skills because they want to be able to work with somebody who understands the industry and understands what it is that they're trying to do. So over the next hour or so, we're going to talk about how you could take some of those skills that you have and potentially turn them into a nice little side hustle working as a VA, I say virtual assistant. I know you guys are all about the voiceover adjacent, but working as a VA for a VO. So welcome, Bridget. Welcome, Lynn. I'm going to hand this one off to you guys. Tell us a little bit about VA for VO, and then we'll get started.
Well, thank you, Mark, for having us back. We absolutely are delighted to be with you again. So, thanks for everybody out there. We've got 32 people in the room. So, thanks. I'm going to say hi to Sharon and hi to Peter, who I see in the chats here. So, and hi to Catherine. This is going to turn into romper room all of a sudden on me. So, and hi to Sharon, and I see Peter, and I see Catherine. So, but yeah, so I will say from the get-go that if you have any questions, put them into the comments section. I know Mark's going to be tracking it. We'll be tracking it. We'll probably at the end we'll have some time for the Q&A. So, but if there's something that kind of is we're getting into, we might just address it in the moment. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive right on into this, shall we? Everybody ready? Let's talk about the 5 things that can bring you cash, cash in on those skills. We are VA for VO. I was about to say I'm Lynn. I'm not Lynn. I'm Bridget. I know who I am, and Lynn's with me. And I said Miranda is back at the fort, as it were, the virtual fort, manning things. So the first thing that we want to talk about, obviously, is that owning a voiceover business is a complete roller coaster, right? I mean, we all as VOpreneurs, we are we're living on a roller coaster on a day-to-day basis. Isn't that right? So if you'll go ahead and move us forward here, Mark. It's not your typical kind of job, right? Let's go ahead and compare the differences between having a regular sort of traditional 9 to 5-ish sort of job with the world of voiceover. And it's all about the different decisions that we're making, right? So moving forward, my friend. So in a typical 9 to 5 traditional job, I'll even say, shift work job, you're working regular hours, right? You're working either 9 to 5 or you're working, 12 to 6, or even if you're just like working 4 hours, in a shift, you're working these regular hours that are scheduled for you, that you know what's coming for them. In the world of voiceover, my husband says I work more now than I ever did before. Like, even though we make our own hours, those hours tend to be all day, every day, right? So it's a little bit different. Also, in a traditional style job, there's a steady paycheck. You're earning, whether it be a salary or you're earning an hourly wage, you're earning regular money. Whereas in the world of VO, we live in a gig industry, so it very much is dependent on our hustle, our drive, and getting our feet wet and working to find those opportunities, and then hopefully get hired for them. So it's very, very different. In the traditional world, you've got benefits. So we've got medical benefits, we've got retirement plans, things like that, thrift savings, things of that nature. Whereas in the world of voiceover, I mean, God bless Nava for helping us, with healthcare, and there are certainly retirement and pension plans through the union. There are, people who have Roth IRAs and things like that. But generally speaking, that's something that you have to set up for yourself. You'll typically have some sort of PTO, paid time off, with a regular job, which you don't have. It's very, very different. When we go into this gig industry, there's a lot of decisions that we have to make. I mean, the first is, how are we going to spend our money? Where are we going to, we have to think about our training. We have to think about our demos. We have to think about conferences, networking, software, all these different things. It's very seasonal style work, right? So you're going to have these peaks and valleys. A lot of people talk about, like right now being June, with a lot of the ad agencies starting to go on holiday and things like that, that there's a little bit of a dip in work. Also, that there is a dip in opportunities around the holiday season itself, Christmas time and New Year's, where people are shutting down for the holidays. There is a ton of competition in our industry, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, we all love one another. I like to call us the Canada of creatives, where we're just like loving on one another and always looking to support one another. But let's just call it what it is. We are one another's competition. And those trends in our industry are constantly changing. There was a time when the announcer sound was really, really popular. And nowadays it's more on the conversational side. Sometimes it can be the apathetic side, so those things are always changing. And you have to stay on top of those trends in order to be competitive among the thousands of people who have their businesses already set up. And no longer is there really very many opportunities to be sort of the brand voice of a campaign. Those are not as frequent as we used to see them. I think Tina Morosco said once that a couple of years ago they booked, I'm going to throw a number out there, I want to say it was like 375 commercials campaigns. And of that, I think it was like 350 were different voices. So it wasn't like you had one person who was hired and then rehired time and time again. So having something where it is a brand of a channel or a product or something like that is not really as much of a thing as it used to be. So having all of that creates a lot of peaks and valleys, quite the roller coaster, right? And that can be a bit scary for us when we have these little economic downturns. We completely get it. Absolutely, we get it, right, Lynn?
Absolutely. We have been there and we've done that. The roller coaster also sometimes doesn't go away. Like, you can be in this business for a good amount of time and, maybe you just figure out when you can take a vacation, because that's maybe when everyone else is taking a vacation, but it's just the nature of the business. So I want to pause for a moment and tell you a little story. So the year, we can go forward a slide. The year is 2017. The location, Barcelona, Spain. It's the first VO Euro retreat that J. Michael has put on, and Bridget and I are both there. We had met before, but it was a chance these Euro retreats are very small, so it was a chance for us to get to know everyone who was there for an entire week and work together. And we were in a medical narration class, and we were working on some really complex terms, of course, as the nature of medical narration. And Bridget and I started doing silly voices, as most voice actors do. And we came up with these two characters who were pretty obnoxious in tone, but who could say really hard things in a kind of obnoxious voice. So
Totally.
Bridget was Britannia and
I was
I was
pretending.
Stephanie. And we decided that we would create this little uh, show. It was a short video show. We were TikTok long before there was TikTok. Um, and we put together this silly show that was the BS guide, pun intended. And it was an advice show. So we wrote scripts that people would, as if people were calling in to our show, and then we would give them advice. And we would say incredibly intelligent things
in these really obnoxious voices.
They were
So-
fabulous.
So we did this short show, and we talked about digestion and gastrointestinal issues, and we talked about networking and brain chemistry and
and the amygdala.
and wedding etiquette. So we picked a whole bunch of silly subjects, and there's a Facebook page for it if you're at all curious about the goofiness that she and I did. So we were doing it because we wanted to find a way to put ourselves out there in a way that we thought was hilarious. Of course, a couple of the people who were at the Euro retreat, the voices were very grating, so they didn't like that too much.
Drove them
But
crazy.
that just made us lean in a little more. So we did it so that we could put ourselves out there in a funny way, use these two characters, and build this silly show. And what did we learn from that? Well, on the next slide, I'll tell you, we learned that the skills we were using to have this fun ultimately had the potential to lead us to cash. So when we were doing the video show, Bridget was doing the video production. So all the editing, all the special effects, tips and tales, all of that. I was in charge of the copywriting. I mean, ultimately, when we would get together, sometimes things were improv. But so story development, scripts, a lot of the research for what crazy subject we were going to do, what hard words we could work into the script. Both of us were working on social media content creation, putting it out there. We created this Facebook group I mentioned. We were scheduling things, doing the performance. So we were using a whole bunch of skills. And we realized that we could use those skills for other things that potentially could lead to cash. So as people kind of saw that we were out there doing things in the world, putting ourselves out there, it led to jobs. So Bridget was hired first by J. Michael as his personal assistant. She was Kayla long before Kayla. So she was doing video demos and vlog editing. She created some commercials for the JMC Demos brand. In the meantime, I was working on my own website and doing website writing, which led me to work with voice actors' websites, which led me to get hired by voice actors' websites to do some copywriting for them. I've subsequently moved into teaching people how, best practices for writing copy and learning a little bit about DIY SEO. I did some ghostwriting for people in blogs and other things, website pages. Both of us were doing social media content creation. Bridget ran the social media entirely for JMC Demos. I work with Jessica on VO Atlanta, and I do all the graphic design and setting up websites. So basically, we took all of these skills that we were just using, not really paying attention to for fun, and we turned them into money. So, in fact, we became VA businesses. So, again, we were working for voice actors' websites, JMC Demos, VO Atlanta, and others. But we realized as we talked to people who found out we were doing that and kind of wanted to know more, that almost everyone is overwhelmed with something in their business. There's something that they're not good at, or that they just don't have the time in the day. And so we started talking about how VAs, or voice actors at that point, VOs, could hire each other to do work and outsource those tasks. In fact, we even taught a course all about outsourcing, which is now part of our program for VOs. We taught that at VO Atlanta, and it was very well received. And we thought, hey, there's something here. And I will let Bridget take the story from there.
So we move into 2020 with COVID, essentially. And I ended up going into the US early for VO Atlanta. I was going for VO Atlanta, but my mom got sick. So I came in early. At the same time, as I said, I'm J. Michael's assistant. My business starts booming. And I get myself kind of in this rut. At the same time, I'm in Marc's mastermind class, and Marc said, why don't you hire an assistant? I didn't think I could afford an assistant at that time. And he said, yeah, you can definitely afford an assistant. And here's what you can have them do. And he kind of guided me through all of that. And the first thing I had already started to outsource in my business was audio editing for e-learning, because I was taking on a ton of e-learning work. And so I had an editor who blew up my NDA with a medical narration company. And then fast forward to, Lynn saying, "Hey, I'll be your editor." So she has been and still continues to be my editor. No, you can't have her, so don't ask. She's mine. Actually, she doesn't have time for other people's stuff, but that's neither here nor there. After at that point, Mark had asked me to be on the VOpreneur podcast talking about virtual assistants. So some of you in the audience may have watched that episode. I often get people emailing me saying, "Hey, I just watched you on the episode about virtual assistants with Mark." And at that time, my first assistant who I'd hired was not a in the voiceover community. He was he was my son's friend from high school, and I had to teach him everything. Well, he was finishing out college, and he had to leave me. And at the same time, Miranda heard that podcast episode. And so she reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you know anyone who needs an assistant? Do you, do you maybe need more help?" And so I ended up hiring Miranda. And that was the first time I actually had somebody who was in the voiceover industry. The beautiful part about having someone who was in the voiceover industry was that I didn't have to teach her about the voiceover industry. With Lucas, I had to teach him everything. But with Miranda, I could hit the ground running, and we just took off because she came with so many skills from other jobs, from her past life experience, and then understood the voiceover world and was able to help me just keep my business flowing and going. Well, we started getting asked all the time about how do we do this. Lynn and I were constantly being asked how to do this, how to hire people, and Miranda was being asked how to become a virtual assistant, which at the time we were still calling it virtual assistant. And we just realized, again, people were very overwhelmed. And it was when I was having I was taking a coaching lesson, I should say, with Kay Bess, that she needed to have an assistant. She was looking for an assistant. And I knew someone who was looking for an opportunity to be an assistant. And so I connected the two of them together. And that was sort of the very first time that I will always say that K-Best is our very first VA for VO client. It was a great experience. And that was what let Lynn and I realize that we do definitely need to make this a business. And with Miranda coming in and saying, "I'm thinking about making a course on how to become a virtual assistant," we went, we got something here. So we decided to help out both sides of the equation: voice actors who want to outsource tasks in their business, and voice actors who have skills who want to assist other voice actors. And in fact, we decided to redefine the term VA. So VA typically refers to virtual assistants, but in our mindset, it's really all of the tasks that are adjacent to being on the microphone. It's all the administrative tasks, all the behind the scenes tasks that a voice actor might need. So really, it's a voiceover adjacent person. And they're not just an assistant to you. They are a freelance contractor. It's a freelance contracting arrangement between a person with skills and a person who needs to outsource tasks. And those tasks can be ongoing tasks, the day-to-day operational things, or they could be project to project sort of things. So in my case with Lynn, audio editing, right? We have people who do project work on audiobook prep work, things like that. It could be the day-to-day operational things like what Miranda used to do for me. She's no longer my assistant at all. But it's really the beautiful part about VA is that the services can be all encompassing or they can be very, very specific, which is really, really important to us. So we think that it's a great opportunity for voice actors who have skills to cash those in and make an additional stream of income.
So, now that we've told you our backstory, why should you become a VA for VOs and do some of this virtual work? Let's go through the benefits of working in the VO community with this secondary stream of income, this side hustle, whatever you want to call it. So the first benefit, we go to the next slide, is that you can use these skills, as we've just shown you, to smooth out some of those peaks and valleys in cash flow. One of the things that I wish someone had told me before I started, because this was kind of my first entrepreneurial adventure after working in Wall Street firms for a long time, that the cash flow wasn't going to be the same. And that sounds really logical. Of course, the cash flow is not the same, but it just didn't occur to me. And so when it was, what do you mean I have to wait 30 days to get paid? I can't just get paid the day I give them the audio? Uh-oh. I was kind of counting on that cash flow. So when we smooth out some of these cash flow items with additional streams of income, it makes that stress of, uh-oh, I have to wait a while to get paid a lot less stressful. So that's the first reason and benefit for becoming a VA and working for VOs.
The next reason why you want to stay in the industries or be a VA is because it allows you to stay in the industry. It's wonderful to be able to have a day job. I mean, I know there are plenty of people who do have day jobs and things like that, but how wonderful is it that you can be a VA for someone else? You can provide voiceover adjacent services to someone else, and you can still keep your mindset on voiceover. When we're going to a day job, whatever it may be, maybe it's a desk job or maybe it's retail, you have to kind of pivot your mindset in that moment. And in the back of your head, you may be going, oh gosh, I can't wait till I can get to those auditions. I can't wait till I can possibly get into this work and, record that job or work on that audiobook, whatever. When you're a VA, it allows you to stay in the industry. It allows you to stay focused and mindset in the industry. Even though you might be working on somebody else's business, it allows you to just stay feet firmly planted and you're not having to pivot quite as much. Which then also leads to mastery of skills, which is our third reason why it's so great being a VA. When you're doing things for other people, you start to master those skills for yourself, right? The more you are doing for others, the more that you are practicing these different skills, and the better you're going to get, the faster you're going to get, the more efficient you're going to get. And the nice thing about when you master those skills, you can apply them to your own voiceover business. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why when we created VA for VO, we created a whole suite of education to help people. Part of it was so that they could learn from the mistakes that we made fumbling along the way. But the other thing was we wanted to give people additional skills that they could apply to their own businesses, but then also master those and apply those to other people's businesses and help them to move forward in their businesses and earn an additional stream of income. Which then leads us to item number 4.
Right. So I keep harping on this roller coaster, but we want to go from being ruled by fears about when do I get paid next and turn that roller coaster into a superpower. You can set your own schedules, you can set your own rates. And we know that's true in voiceover work, but sometimes that's hard to realize that we can set that in other entrepreneurial pursuits. And if we're staying in the industry and we're working with other VOs, we can really work around our own schedules. So it's a way if the month of July is your nemesis for me, weirdly, it's the month of April when things just go all crickets. That's a time, if I know that and it's pretty regular, if I'm tracking it over the years, then I can say, hey, in April, I'm going to really focus my attention towards, just trying to get VO work, but also trying to get voiceover adjacent work to smooth that out. So instead of being ruled by the roller coaster, we're going to own that roller coaster and make it work for us as a superpower.
Yep. Which leads to number 5, which is potential mentorship opportunities. Now, as I was Jay Michael's assistant for about 2.5 years, there was never any point where he sat me down and said, Bridget, this is what you're going to do in order to have a successful career. No, he was wonderful, but he never ever sat me down and did that. But what I did do was observe what he was doing. I was watching what had to be done in his business, and I was taking notes on things that I wanted to be able to apply to my own VO business and things that I thought that's not part of my business model. So I'm not going to incorporate that. But that was really helpful for me. And it was something that I, in turn, decided when I took on Miranda as my assistant, that when she would ask me questions, I was always an open book. I was happy to answer any questions that she had for me. It's, it becomes this very organic thing. Sometimes the person for whom you work can be, you can ask them questions and they will give you guidance. And other times you just watch what they're doing and you go, "Oh, that's a great thing that they're doing. Oh, I like that. I'm going to use that in my business model." Or, the nice thing is, as you start to build up and you start to build this relationship with them, you may have ideas for your voiceover clients and say, something that I do that seems to work really well for me is I do the following thing. I did that a lot with J. Michael, to the point where he started coming to me and saying, "What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" Because we built such a great relationship of trust and admiration and mutual respect that it just really blossomed into this fantastic, mutually beneficial mentorship. So there's a lot to benefit from. I mean, as we said, you've got staying in the industry, you've got managing those peaks and those roller coasters, you've got getting smoothing out the peaks and the valleys in there. We've talked about the fact that you're mastering all those skills in your business. And it's just an opportunity to empower yourself and set your own schedule in the way that you want to do it, all while staying in the voiceover industry. So hopefully those 5 things are hopefully they're resonating with some people.
Right. So I agree. Hopefully we've got you peaked. We assume since you're here, you're at least a little bit interested in finding out more. So the most common question is, I want to do this, but I have no clue where to start. So let me tell you where to start. Next slide. First, you're going to sit down and figure out, what do you want to do for other people? I'm seeing some questions in the chat that we will definitely answer, but what if you want to be a video editor or an audio editor or do some of those skills? How do you figure that out? Well, first sit down and figure out, what are you really good at? What do you like to do? What are things that if you could work for somebody else, you could do quickly? You could easily take over. For me, doing the audio editing was very easy when Bridget asked if I could help her. So decide what you like to do. Decide what you're good at and fast at. Are you a quick learner? I have yet to meet a piece of software that I can't figure out. I love learning new software. So that's something that I'm very good at. I'm a very fast learner at. So if somebody came to me and said, "Can you work with, I don't know, Monday," which is a project management scheduling and other things software, I would say yes, because even if I've never worked in it before, which I haven't, I can learn it very quickly. So are you like that? What are you interested in? What are your hobbies? What tasks do you love to do? But also remember, what tasks do you hate to do? Because we get a lot of requests from other VOs for things they hate to do. So if you also hate to do them, that's not going to be a very good match. So make sure that you're real honest about the things that you'll just burn out on quickly, you won't want to do for others eventually. Know what you hate as well as what you love.
So
But remember that your schedule is your very own. So how much time do you have to consistently devote? Or are you a project by project VA? We have lots of people who want to hire assistants, but they want it on a project, like Bridget said earlier, an audio editing, or maybe you need a book prepped, or maybe you need some leads, but you're going to then stop getting leads and follow up with emails for a while, and then you'll go back for a new project of new leads. That's a way to work with someone as well, and for them to work with you. So maybe you're that person who's like, "Hey, my roller coaster is such that I only have time occasionally." Well, then you're a great project person to work with. So know all of those things, determine your services and your availability, and that's the best place to start. So what's next?
let's talk a little bit about, what do people typically outsource? At VA for VO, these are the things that people typically come to us and they go, "Hey, I need to outsource the following." top trending thing that we have time and again is lead generation, email marketing, and CRM setup and organization. That is number one that people come through the door and ask us for. Most people don't like doing it or are not very good at it or don't have time to do it. So that's the number one trending area there that we have. However, we do have a lot of things that can be, like I said, project to project. It doesn't have to be that you are, as a VA, that you get hired as someone's constant, person 5 hours a week forever and ever. Amen. There's a lot of project to project work. So long form narration, QC, and editing, audiobook prep, like Lynn was saying before. And we're seeing an uptick in that. Podcast setup and online profile maintenance. So if you want somebody who's going to really kind of ramp up your online casting profile for you and make sure that it's set up properly, it's maximized, it's getting the best visibility, we have people that definitely offer that as a service. Website maintenance, copywriting, editing, and proofreading, getting that SEO right where it needs to be, right in that sweet spot. Of course, there's always a need for people who are good with graphic design, Canva, Adobe tools, things like that, to create social media and to schedule it, to do video production work. Then there's also just sort of the day-to-day admin tasks. Maybe you're really good with invoicing or doing PR work, following up with clients for like holiday gifts and thank you gifts and things like that, or just general digital office setup. If you've got any of these sorts of skills, these are things that people do come through the door and ask us for. As I said, leading that list is lead generation, email marketing, and CRM setup. But all of these things people do come to us for. So if these are things that you have as skills, and let me also just say, this is just a list of potential things that people outsource. We've had people come through the door with all number of things. So it could be anything, but this is the main list that we go by.
And then these are some of the common tools. So if these are tools you're already using in your business, and I won't read all of them, but we'll talk about, productivity tools and scheduling tools, project management work, any kind of graphic design or creation tools, tools to schedule social media posts, social media itself, if you're like most people and are on social media a good amount. If you create websites or do lead generation, work with CRMs, all of these types of tools. So go through when you're figuring out what skills you want to offer. Also, just make an inventory of the tools that you know and are familiar with and are things that you could use to back up those skill sets. Sometimes your VO will be just as familiar or super familiar with those tools. And sometimes your VO, in the instance of Bridget and I work on Studio One as a DAW. She works on Adobe Audition as a DAW. I don't work in Adobe Audition, but it doesn't matter. I can edit her audio in my DAW. I just have to know what, she doesn't need any settings. So, but if
we don't even
she
work on the
needed
same
some,
OS.
right, we would need to know. We would just need to know what she needed, but I can do it in my DAW and she can work in hers. So you don't have to have the same tools to work together, but it's good to know what are your tools? What do you bring to the table? If you really want to learn Adobe Photoshop and get really good at that, put it on your list, learn it, add it as an offering. So these are some of the common tools. I will say that if you're interested in these, we can make them available to you. We will make them available to you. So never fear. You don't have to mad scribble it down or take screenshots. We can talk. We'll get them to you. Never fear. So those are some of the commonly used tools. All right. So it would not be a VA for VO class without a way for you to evaluate things with real numbers. We teach ROI in every class that we do. So I'm going to go through it a little bit quickly, but if you get stuck, we can always go back and review. But ROI is a return on investment. So when VOs look at hiring, they're trying to figure out if hiring a virtual assistant or a project person or some other voiceover adjacent help is worth their money. You need a way to be able to talk about that and sell those skills and show them that, yes, indeed, in fact, it is very worth their money. And you also need a way to figure out if what you're charging is the right number. Are you getting enough for the time that you're devoting to other people? So we're going to use ROI and show you both of those scenarios. But first, let's talk about how do you calculate ROI. So ROI is an investment performance measure. So we're going to talk about stocks real quick. And, the buy low, sell high, we're going to show you why that's true. Because let's say we bought a stock for $10 and we turned around and sold it when the market moved for $110. So we take the current value of that stock, which is the $110 that we sold the stock for, and we subtract out the original cost, what we spent to get the stock in the first place. Then we divide that by the original cost to determine the ROI. So if I spent $10 and I sold it for $110, I say 110 minus 10 divided by 10 means that I got 10 times my money back, or a 10x ROI, or a 1,000% return on that $10 investment. Pretty good, right? Well, now let's show you on the next slide what it would look like if someone hired you for one project, not even as a long ongoing virtual assistant, but just one project to maximize their pay-to-play casting profile. So you decide to charge $30. Now, I should caveat that by saying we just picked some numbers. We don't set rates. We help you determine what might be a good rate, but we leave it completely up to our VAs because they are the business. Just like you wouldn't want a VO client to come to you and say, I will only pay you X, when not care about what your rate is. Same goes for VA work. So you decide $30 an hour, and it's going to take you 5 hours of work because your pay-to-play profiles are as terrible as mine, and you need some real help to do all the new algorithm stuff that has to be done. So they're going to pay you $150 total, $30 times 5 hours, to do this optimization work. And once you do that, they're easier to find and they get the opportunities quicker, and they in turn book 2 jobs, and those 2 jobs each pay $750. That's pretty doable. I mean, sometimes the jobs are lower, but $750 is not an outrageous, it's not a $10,000 job. It's just a $750 job. And let's say over time, they've booked 2 of them. So the return on that $150 investment looks like this: $1,500, 2 times 750, minus 150, divided by 150, means that they got 9 times the return on that $150 investment, a 900% return on paying you $150. So sometimes when people ask what you charge, if the rates maybe give you sticker shock because you think, well, I can go on Fiverr and get it for $5, so I don't want to pay $30 an hour. Remember that when you show them this, you can say, oh, no. But that money that you're investing in hiring me is very much worth it because you're going to turn around and be able to book better and make 9 times your investment. Where with someone off Fiverr, you're going to have to teach them and they may not do it right, and all of the extra things of hiring someone outside of the VO scope and industry will get you. So now Bridget's going to talk you through a scenario of valuing time.
So yeah, I'm going to give you my little real life example here. One of the skills, as we talked about earlier, that I do is video production work. So I make demo videos for people. They give me their demo and their commercial demo, trailer demo, promo demo, whatever, and I can make individual spots with that. And I source video content, I add sound effects, I match sound to tape, I do all these things, and it's a long, tedious process. It takes me about 24 working hours to put together a demo video. And that's not 24 hours as in like it takes me a day. No, 24 working hours. So figure 24 hours over the course of about a week or something. At the time when I first started doing this, I didn't know what to charge. I had no idea what I ought to be charging. So someone offered to pay me $500 and I went, okay, that works. And so I started charging $500 to do these demo videos. And I was getting a lot of clients asking me to do a variety of demo videos for them. And some were easier than others, but they all pretty much took me about 24 hours. And I found myself getting exhausted by them and starting to get a little bit, I was losing, they weren't quite as fun because they were a lot of work for realistically not a ton of money. And I even had one client who, after I gave him the video, basically came back to me and said, "Oh, I need this changed and I need that changed." And I basically had to redo the entire thing, at which point I was incredibly salty. I mean, honestly, I was. So I went to Lynn and I said, "I don't know what to do." And I was just venting to her. And she said, "Did you do the ROI calculation on it?" And I was like, "I don't know how I would do the ROI calculation on that." She goes, "There's a way to do it." She said, "Take those same 24 working hours and let's pretend you were behind the microphone using that time." And so, when you're trying to figure out, okay, well, how much, because a gig could be anything. So we decided to use just a low end session fee. Now, mind you, this was a couple of years ago when we did this, and my low end session fee was like $150 an hour for like just the session fee, not the usage. So I took those same 24 working hours and I multiplied it by 150. So, which gave me a number of 3,600. So we took the ROI calculation and the current value, which was the current money that I was making, $500. From that, I subtracted what I could potentially be making, which was $3,600. And I divided it by $3,600. And what I found is that I was losing money, missing out on money at a rate of 861%. I was losing out 8.61 times my potential income. There was an opportunity cost charging too little for my time. So needless to say, looking at it from that perspective was eye-opening. And you can do that too. It gave me the opportunity to reevaluate and say, all right, how much do I want to charge for demo videos? So I have now worked my rates for doing demo videos. I do fewer of them, and that's okay by me, because at least I'm charging what I feel I am worth in doing that. And you can do the exact thing. So let's talk a little bit now about determining your rates. Now, as we said, we're never going to give you what you should charge. First off, that would be price fixing, and that's illegal. So we're not an employment agency. We are a matchmaking service with education to help you along the way, to empower you and give you skills that you can then negotiate with VO clients. But here are some things that you should consider when you are determining your rates. So first, as we said, you are solely responsible for setting the rates for your VO business, but you might want to base it off of the different skills that you offer. So if you're doing, audio editing, that might be one rate. If you are doing just simply lead generation, or you're just simply doing, content creation, but you're not scheduling it, maybe you're going to have a different rate for that. If you're kind of doing a little bit of everything, maybe you're going to kind of take the average of all these different tasks that you're doing to come up with something like that. But think about what your client is asking for, the services that your client is requesting, and the resources that you have that you are using, so the different tools and things like that you are using, and all of those should be figured in to help you come up with your rates. So if you have specific software that you are using, we have some people who have specific software for their lead generation, so they figure that in when they are in their lead generation rates. You might also consider it from a perspective of results. So when a client comes to you and they say, I need someone to do the following things, what do you charge? Well, just like with VO work, we'll often, the number one thing we ask is, well, what's your budget? And what are you trying to get for that budget? So you can say, like, what is your budget? What are the outcomes? What are your goals? And what are the outcomes that you are hoping to get? And how much time are we looking at with that? And that can help you sort of create a framework. It's not unlike the way we negotiate with VO work. You can also consider doing some bartering, some non-cash compensation. So bartering, trading VA work for VA work with other VOs. With Miranda, there was a period of time where she was prepping for one of her demos and she needed some non-broadcast coaching. And she came to me and said, would you be willing to coach me? And I said, tell you what, rather than me paying you for this week or next week or whatever, how about I do some coaching sessions and we just trade that? And she said, that sounds great. So that way she wasn't having to pay me. I wasn't having to pay her. We were trading services. Now, with that, you want to be very, very clear. I don't recommend necessarily doing that on a long-term basis, but you can certainly do that on a short-term basis and make sure that it is a fair market trade. So make sure that both parties are getting mutually beneficial services for the time that is being put out there. So in the case of with Miranda, she was, the rate that I charged for coaching matched a week's worth of VA work that she had been doing for me at that time. But also, again, you want to know what your worth is. So think about the things that you are willing to do and how much time you are willing to devote to them. So again, you can do things on a project to project basis. You can do them on an ongoing basis, but understand what your hours are and what skills you're willing to offer and how far you're willing to go or not go. Set boundaries for yourself. I think that's a very healthy practice to get into. And as your skills and experiences grow, you may decide that you're going to raise your rates. I think Miranda did one of the greatest things in the world was after about a year or so of her being my assistant. She was not, I should also say, she was not just my assistant. Miranda has been an assistant for several other people over the years. And she had incredible skills. So as she grew those skills, she started to raise her rates. But she did so in a way that was empowering to her and still fair to her VO clients. And what she did was she said, I'm raising my rates. My new rates are going to be as follows. We can do this one of two ways. You can choose to just allow me to raise my rates as they are, and we'll keep moving forward and I'm just getting a raise. Or if that doesn't work out with your budget, we can reduce the amount of hours. I'm still going to be working for you and I'll still get things done. I'll work fewer hours that will give me more time to then, outsource myself to somebody else to help out their business. And it was great. And it also gave her time as well to dedicate more time to her own VO business to continue to grow that. So there's a lot of ways to kind of get around that rate question there. You can do a lot of research for the current market rates. One of the sites that I really like is Glassdoor. I looked up lead generation and I looked up virtual assistant and things like that. I mean, when you get into the more specific things with VO, it might be a little bit more difficult, but there's a lot of great research that you can do on current market rates. But ultimately, you just want to set very clear expectations with your clients on the hours, the rates, and the tasks that you're doing. And certainly we can kind of guide you a little bit and give you some input. If you're like, I'm not really sure, what should I do? We can help you to kind of navigate that a little bit as well. So let's move forward.
All right.
Okay,
So-
I know there are a lot of questions that are coming up in the chat, so we're going to get to the questions in the chat here in a minute. There's a couple things that I wanted to point out, just taking notes from what you had to say. I think there's a few things that I would be thinking about if I'm watching this right now. If I'm a newer voice actor, it takes time to grow a business. That's the reality of it. You can start marketing your face off tomorrow, but it's going to take time to grow a business. And so an opportunity like this gives you an opportunity to bring in some money while you're working towards getting those voiceover clients. If you're a newer voice actor and your business isn't to a point where it's sustaining you yet, this is an opportunity to create a side hustle income. Wealth building 101 is having money coming in from more than one stream.
Multiple irons in the fire.
On the voiceover side, that's auditions coming at you from direct marketing, auditions coming at you from multiple agents, auditions coming at you from casting sites, auditions coming from freelance sites, auditions coming from referrals. You've got all of these different places that are bringing opportunity your way. This is just another way that you can create an income stream for yourself, and using skills that you already have, but also giving the opportunity to get better at some of those skills and getting paid for it.
Absolutely.
You're getting better at those skills. So we are going to do a Q&A. I know there's been a bunch of questions that have been popping up, and we're going to get to those in a minute. But ladies, I know that you do have an offer that you want to present for anybody who is sitting here with us live right now and watching this. So let me bring that up. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what the deal is?
Yep. So again, we're VA for VO, and we're the ultimate voiceover outsourcing resource. We are a two-pronged business. We have two memberships: a VO membership for people who need help, a VA membership for people who want to be the helpers. It has three pillars. The first pillar is education. For VAs specifically, there are 7 courses. It's probably about $700, around $700 worth of education that gives you some fundamentals and foundations and helps you learn some very typical skills that are often outsourced. So you can see those classes here. I won't read them to you. The second pillar is opportunity. So as Bridget said, we are matchmakers. So I know that was one of the questions. We can talk in more detail, but we match VOs who need help. They tell us what they need help with VAs who can help. We look through our database and say, oh, this person likes to do social media generation. They might be a good fit. And then communities, both sides have a private Facebook group where they can ask any question. There are no dumb questions, but dumb questions. They can ask those, and they can ask us anything. We do an Ask Us Anything once a month for both sides, so people can come and get their questions answered or just share what's been going on in their businesses. The VA side is very active. We have lots of great VAs who come, and we started bringing guests. So once a month, that happens in both groups. So those are the 3 pillars of the membership side, and I will let Bridget tell you the offer today.
So for all of these amazing VOpreneurs who have come in and watched us and are continuing to watch us live, we have a very special offer for you. Lynn and I and Miranda have written a book, Leveraging the New Frontier of Tools. It's an ebook, and it's at $100 value. If you sign up by Friday, June 21st, so this Friday, then you will get that as a bonus in your membership, your VA membership. So it comes free with your membership. So the membership itself is not free, but if you do, there was a little bit of, I think, a misnomer in that last time. The membership is not free, but if you join us by Friday, you will get this added to your membership. So it's a wonderful opportunity. And as I'm seeing some questions in the chat here, there are a lot of opportunities for VAs still. We still have quite a few opportunities that are just coming in on a daily basis. Right before this webinar, Miranda was messaging us and saying, hey, we got another person, and we're sitting here actively working on making the matches. So
Part of the reason why we're here today is because we did a webinar last month on the voiceover side for voice actors who were looking for help in their business, and we had way more signups than any of us anticipated by a very wide margin. And so after a couple of days, I actually reached out and was like, so we're going to do another one next month then, because now you need more virtual assistants. And they're like, yes, that's exactly. Yeah, so that's what we're doing, because we ended up in a situation where so many voice actors who were looking for help signed up. So now we need to get a few more VAs into the mix here. But what you're really offering, and I know I tease you about this, Bridget, and anybody that's listened to the podcast talks about it, but I talk about, so you're Tinder for voice actors.
We're voiceover Tinder. We own that, by the way. We own that URL.
There you go. So what you're offering is the matchmaking services. If you have these skills, and we talked about all of these different skills that voice actors are looking for, if you have these skills and you want to be able to cash in on those skills, then when you sign up for VA for VO as a voiceover adjacent service provider, they are going to match you to the voice actors who need those skills, who are looking to work with you as a VA. So I know that we've got some questions popping up in the chat, so I want to get to some of these questions. When signing up for a membership, how much self-promotion is expected from a member? In other words, how does one find clients for VA work in this model? So you guys are doing the matchmaking. Walk us through how that works for somebody who would be signing up today and looking to get matched with a voice actor.
Well, as far as marketing goes, we are regularly out there marketing. We don't market people because that can always change, but we market skill sets. So if you've put down that you do lead generation, email marketing, and CRM, we market that all the time. We tell everyone who asks, because that's one of the common questions. What do people outsource? What do they need? If you're one of those people who offers that, then we are actively promoting those skill sets. So that opportunities walk through the door. You're part of the group that gets connected. The way it works for VOs, real quickly, is they come in, they tell us what they want. We match them with 3 people. We give them all the information to contact. The VO is responsible for conducting the interview, You and the VO are responsible for determining rates, figuring out when to get paid. We don't take a commission on that. We don't do any piece of that. That is YouTube B2B. We make our money on the membership site and on courses, other courses that we sell, but we don't take a piece of what you're going to make as a VA. That said, you are not restricted, of course, from talking to people outside of the platform and saying, hey, I do this work if you need help. If you send the VO through the platform, we got a little sweet, deal for you. You'll get some of that back, a little bit of a sweetener for you if you send them through our site. But you are not required as a VA to send your VOs through the platform. We do have a good number of VAs who tell people about the platform, and then they come through. Occasionally, it's if you tell the people at VA for VO that you want to come in and get the courses, because there's a big value to the VOs on that side, then tell them that you want to hire me. And then they won't match you with anyone else, and you're all mine. And we can do that too.
We've had a few people do that.
Right. So that's kind of how it works in the general sense.
I want to expand just a little bit just to make sure that it's very clear to people that when you sign up as a VA, you're going to fill out a form, a very detailed form that talks about all the things that you do, like all the services that you offer, all of the tools that you are using regularly or that you are familiar with. We take all of that information and it automatically goes into our database. At the same time, when a VO comes through, they fill out their form that has all of their needs and what they're looking for in the hours and such. And that goes into a separate database. We then hand match everyone. So it's not like VOs come in and they suddenly see a whole bunch of profiles. You're not going to have a profile that's going to be visible to VOs. It is that you go into a database and then we are hand matching you based on your skills and their needs. It's a bespoke matchmaking experience happening. So if the more detailed you are about the services and your experience and things like that, and just, I will say, forgive us the long form, but the more information we have, the more likely and the better we are at being able to match you with people who need your skills. So
a couple quick questions here. Cindy asks about if there's a code to get the book. So that is actually, if you sign up by the 21st, you'll automatically get that applied. There is a link that is pinned in this chat. You can click that link to sign up. There is also a link in the description to this video. You can click that link to sign up. I will also send out an email afterwards with a link. So any one of these places, you can click that link. But as long as you sign up by the 21st, you will receive that bonus offer, the book as the bonus offer. Here's a question from Sandra. She says, do clients on the VO side, the ones who are looking, do they also pay a membership fee?
They do. So the VOs have a one-time membership. The VA's membership is renewable, but it's renewable for a very small keep the lights on fee. It is not renewed at the same face value that you paid. You pay upfront, and then there's a slight renewal fee if you want to stay on and continue to be matched. The VOs, it's one time as they go. So yes, they have a fee, but they also get the same 3 pillars of education, connection, and community.
Can you list this as a business expense? I'm assuming we're talking about the membership subscription. So I always say consult with an accountant to verify tax laws in your state, province, country, et cetera, et cetera. But in theory, you should be able to write that off. Now, again, if you have a question about anything that you've seen, or if you want to ask a question about more about VA for VO, how the service works, how it would work for you working as a voiceover adjacent service provider, feel free to put that question in the chat. If you put a Q beside it, it just makes it a little bit easier for me to find, and it pops up on the screen. I know that we had a couple questions earlier. Sandra had one. Maybe counting chickens before they hatch, however. Does one typically count the virtual assistant work towards income totals for your voiceover business? How does it work for tax purposes? Any insights on that?
I mean, same caveat, talk to your tax person. But yes, I count every dime I make. And if it's in the voiceover sphere at all, I count it against my voiceover business. So that my voiceover business has voiceover adjacent streams and voiceover streams, but I put them all. That's how I handle it personally. If you've got other ways to deal with that, then talk to your accountant. But yeah, I mean, there are limits I think it's still $600. You'll need W-9s and 1099s, so keep that in mind. If you work for someone and you make a good amount of money from them, that just have a conversation with the VO about 1099s and W-9s. It's very easy to do, but you'll have those responsibilities just like you do for voiceover.
And I'm going to add one little caveat to that, being that I'm a person who lives over in Europe. We do have both VAs and VOs who live in Europe. So we've got both people within the membership, and that question has been asked when you have like a VO who is in Europe and a VA who lives in the US, and they say, I've been asked, like, do I have to, get a W-9 and all of that? Again, talk to your tax professional about this. Disclaimer. But generally, as long as you are including that in your income at the end of the year and then claiming it on your taxes, you are fine, even if, you guys live in different countries and things like that. And I guess that the same would sort of apply, I assume, Mark, for Canada.
Yeah, we don't do W-9s. We do, there's a separate form, a W-8BEN, which just addresses the tax treaties between Canada and the United States or whatever. But yeah, so that's where it's always good to have a conversation with your local accountant, particularly if you're working across different countries, regions, etc.
I err on the side of telling, like of counting things, just so that if they ever come back to audit my little business, they don't say, well, you didn't count all of these things, you owe us money. I would rather they say, you counted things you didn't need to. Here, let me give you back money.
Right? Exactly.
There was a question here from Greg. He says he's a blazingly fast editor, but he's curious about how hard it is to edit someone else's audio. I know part of what you guys offer is the educational platform of here's how to here's some help with some of these skills that our voice actors are looking for. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, one of our courses, one of our courses is called Tighten Your Turnaround. It's all about working as an audio editor for voice actors. It was something that Lynn and I learned. I learned as becoming a voice, being a voice actor who needed an audio editor. The first time I worked with an audio editor, I just figured everybody set their things up the way that I did. And no, we all set things up differently. Go figure. So when it took me a while to kind of get that all sorted and so that I was working efficiently with my audio editor. And then when Lynn and I came together, we made that just a well-oiled machine. So we created a course based on how we made it a well-oiled machine. So if you join as a VA, you will get that education. That's one of the courses that you get is Tighten Your Turnaround, which is all about being an audio editor and best practices and things like that.
One of the things that I want to point out, and I'm the outsider here, I'm just providing a platform, but part of what you're offering is the matchmaking service. It's here are voice actors that are looking for these specific skills. Here's how we compare you to them, give you an opportunity to earn additional income. But another big side of this is the ongoing support and educational component. And so when you are signing up as a voiceover adjacent service provider, it's not that they're just going to match you and then be done with you. There's so much ongoing support, education, training that is provided to help you to succeed. Now, we knew this question was going to come up, so we prepared for it in advance. But the question of what are some of the jobs that people are looking for? So let me bring this up on the screen so you guys can just quickly walk through some of the most common things that voice actors are looking for help with.
Well, like Bridget said when she was talking about this slide, and again, we'll get it out to you. Don't worry. Lead generation, email marketing, and CRM setup, some combination of those three win the prize. They are the most commonly requested. So someone asked about opportunities and how many there are, and are there still opportunities for VAs to sign up? If you offer very popular skills, you will get matched faster, obviously. We do have people who come in the door. We've had people ask for audio engineering, but it is not, in full transparency, it is not as much as requested as often as lead generation, email marketing, CRM setup. Second to that is social media, content creation, caption writing, that kind of stuff, scheduling and creation. And what's becoming more popular is SEO writing and the ability to help people with their websites rank more. And so if you have those skills, for sure, there are more opportunities walking through the door now. But again, we're out there. We're in a number of communities doing marketing for those skill sets. We're on LinkedIn and trying to get business owners to understand that they really do need to outsource no matter where they are in their business. So sometimes we get beginners come in who are like, I don't know how to do lead generation yet, but I would like someone to lead generation for me while I learn it. Others are like, I'm way too busy. I can't lead gen, but I need to keep that going. So we really run the gamut, but there are definitely opportunities.
And we're
Those are my
always
favorite.
working, as Lynn said, we're always putting ourselves out there. So we are constantly doing, going to events. So we were just at Vocation in Costa Rica in April. We were at One Voice Conference in the UK also in May. We're going to be at One Voice Conference in Dallas in August. We were at VO Atlanta. We're going to be at Mavo. We were at Nevo last year. We are in touch with the audiobook community. We're in touch with the podcast community. We are in touch with the women in film community. So we're really trying as much as we can for our VAs to find more and more opportunities to get the word out there that we provide. We help connect people with the opportunity to make their lives easier with people who can make them easier. So
Right.
Look at what the voice actors are complaining about, the tasks that they're complaining about on social media and in the social media communities, Facebook groups, etc. Those tasks that they're complaining about, those are the things that, if you offer those services, if you can be a solution to those particular problems, then there's very likely an opportunity for you. So 2 quick things I want to mention. One, I will be sending out a link. So if you want to have the opportunity to go back and revisit this webinar, if you jumped in late, we'll also include the URL for you if you want to sign up. Sign up by the 21st, and you'll be able to get that free ebook offer. You will also receive an email from the VA for VO team, and they're going to include some PDF documents that I believe you're going to talk about the most popular jobs that people are looking for, and also the most popular tools that are being used. So you'll have those as a handy reference if you're interested in those things. Let me just bring up the offer one more time. Tell us what the deal is here.
So if you sign up by Friday for a VA membership and you pay for the membership, with that membership, automatically you will see at the very bottom the bonus module. I've already included it in the VA membership, the bonus module, which is our Leveraging the New Front Tool. I can't talk. The Leveraging the New Frontier of Tools ebook. It is all about how to use, I'm going to get myself in trouble for saying this, but how to utilize AI as a tool to help you in your business with marketing and administrative tasks, that we don't have to be afraid of it. So we have a very comprehensive ebook.
Okay, so that's the offer. Sign up by the 21st. In order to get that, I think this is a really good parting comment here from Samantha.
I know.
Right?
I wanted to mention her earlier.
VA for VO changed my life, both money and my VO career itself. So there you go. There's a testimonial from somebody who has been a happy participant and member of the VA for VO community. Now, if somebody has a question that they would like to ask, maybe we didn't get it into this session, or it comes to them later on this afternoon or tomorrow, how can we get in touch in order to be able to ask those questions? What's the easiest way?
The best way is to send an email to office@vaforvo.com. VAFORVO.com. Office at. All 3 of us have access to that inbox, so that's the best way. We're also on social media, and so there's ways to contact us through those platforms, of course, but the very best way is send us an email, or yes, go to our website and throw your message in the contact form.
There you go. All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for your time and for what you've shared. And I know that you've got some voice actors who are waiting for help. And so hopefully we can get some voiceover adjacent service providers who are able to provide that help. And it's a winning situation for everybody all around. So thank you so much for coming and sharing. Again, if you are interested in signing up to get that offer, the link is pinned in the chat. The link is also in the description to this live stream, and I will email it to you momentarily, so you will be able to find that. If you want to claim that special bonus offer, a $97 value, you just have to sign up by June the 21st in order to do it. All right, ladies, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It was great.
As
Thanks
always.
everybody for coming.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
thank you,
everybody for
Samantha,
coming
for
and
the
hanging
wonderful
out.
testimonial.